Okay, first session, second day, after a party. Always hard, but I promise to try to keep your attention and talk as I talk through sort of what Pfizer's done over the past couple of years as it relates to recruitment branding and social media. So just wanted to start off today kind of getting a feel for the room, understanding how many of you are just starting in developing your social media strategy. Anybody just starting? Okay, a good half of the room just starting, and then how many others are a couple of years in, feeling okay, but want to learn more? Cool, cool. And how many of you are experts? Cool, all right. Makes me a lot better because I'm not an expert either. But I'm here just to share our story. Now, so what I wanted to do during the conversation today is just talk a little bit about who Pfizer is. So Pfizer is a global pharmaceutical company. Not sure if you guys have heard of us, but we have products like Lipitor, which has recently gone off patent. We have Viagra, we have Xalkori, Prevnar 13, and Chapstick. Many of you may not have known that Chapstick is a Pfizer product. But what's interesting about that list of different types of products is that Pfizer has a very interesting global presence. We have products across a wide spectrum of industries, of areas of focus. You may not know that we also have one of the largest nutritional businesses in the world. We are a leading seller of baby formula in every place except the United States. We also have a very large animal health business. We also have a huge consumer products business. So these are all different areas that Pfizer has been focusing in. We have sales in over 150 countries. That means we have employees in over 150 different countries. We have about 67% of our employee base is outside of the United States, and we have huge recruitment challenges across the globe. So what does that mean for someone like me in talent acquisition? Oh boy, I get up in the morning and I go, oh man, how am I going to figure out how to sell Pfizer in this globally connected world? How do I tell that story, that really complex story of our organization? How do I make sure that people around the world understand who Pfizer is as an employer? You all hear about Pfizer. You all hear about our companies. Your companies are always in the news. You know, there's a lot of messaging out there about your companies. How do you make sure that you break through that noise and talk about what's important to the people you're trying to attract as it relates to them choosing your company as an employer? So that's the challenge that I had to face. And one of the ways that we did that was really looking at what's our employment brand, what's our recruitment brand, what's our value proposition to the talent that we're trying to attract. And then we tried to figure out, well, then how do I tell everybody about it? Just because I figured out what my value proposition is doesn't mean that people are going to know it. I had to figure out a way to communicate that value proposition globally in relevant ways and really make sure I was actually hitting the people I wanted to attract to the organization. So that's where we started really thinking about what's our strategy from a marketing perspective, from a social media perspective. And I'll walk you through how we approach that today. So for us, and probably for many of you, these are some of the challenges I faced as we were thinking about this approach. From an internal recruiter perspective, a lot of hesitancy about using new tools and technology. You probably see up here this kind of post and pray approach. This was an approach that we had, in a lot of our markets in the US. If I post the job, they will come. I'm going to post the job out there. It's on a website. I'm going to get applicants, and they're going to be awesome. And they're going to want to work for me. And I'm going to find everybody and fill every job. Does that work? No. We know that that doesn't work. But we also know that job seekers want more than that. And the reason why it doesn't work is because you just don't want to read a list and this job description using every acronym that Pfizer knows in the job description that doesn't tell you anything about the actual job. Job seekers want to know more. They want to know what it's like to live, what it's like to work at your company. They want to know more about the people. They want it to be real and relevant. And we weren't delivering that. We had very limited social media presence. And we had varying levels of recruiter capability. When I talk about this, it's really about sourcing skills. A lot of times over the past 10 years, I've been in the industry thinking about this. And our technology has become so awesome. It allows us to do much more with much less. But our technology has also hindered us in that relationship. I like to say, and those of you who have heard me speak before have heard me say this, that recruiting has always been social, guys. I mean, it's always been about a relationship. But over the past few years, with this rapid evolution of technology and ATS systems and job posting and compliance regulations, we've gotten away from that. We've let the technology drive our processes as opposed to letting the relationships with target talent develop and manage the way in which we do recruiting. And the advent of social has really allowed us to kind of say, hey, this is a great new technology or a great new approach to do what we've always done, just to do it at greater scale, to build that relationship with the people we're trying to attract. So that's what gets me so excited about work and coming into work every day. It's like, oh, wow, I get to go figure out how I can meet somebody in China, how I can develop a relationship, how I can convince somebody in China that they want to come work for Pfizer. I've never been to China. I have no idea the challenges of recruiting there. But I know that people are interested in people. People are interested in learning about what it's like to work at my company. And that's what I have to tell them. And so that's the environment that we spent a lot of our time in over the past few years. And that's where we're so excited about breaking out of. We've broken through all of this clutter and all of this noise, but we're still on the very early steps of our journey. I spent yesterday in the back of the room and I'm like, oh man, I've got so many great new ideas on things that I can implement as I go back to my office and I go back to Connecticut next week. So I'm really looking forward to taking those learnings and implementing them into our strategy. But I wanted to kind of walk you through sort of where we started. So this is Pfizer's beginning. What you'll see here is examples of our approach a couple years back. Now, not one of them is representative of a social site. It's all print advertising. It's all job board advertising. We have Facebook there. It's the only one. It's the only thing we had. Nothing about jobs, only about the company. And what we found is that over time, and when I did an analysis from a recruitment brand perspective, there was a lot of noise in the marketplace about what it is that we were hiring, what it is that we were doing, and it was all wrong. You'll see here sales, marketing, sales. Those are the big, big words that popped up that people were thinking we were hiring for. And at the time, that's not true. Our greatest growth area is not a traditional sales rep. Our greatest growth area was outside of the US and really marketing managers, which is a different skill set than your traditional sales rep. So what we found is because of our inconsistency in the way we were communicating, the fact that we weren't communicating where the job seekers were led to this misperception in the marketplace. And so we had to do something that changed. To change that, we had to do something that enabled us to really make sure that we were attracting the right talent. And so for us, like all of you, I'm sure you want to be the best brands in your marketplace. You really want to make sure that you're attracting the right talent and that you're getting the people in the right role at the right time to really help drive your business productivity. So for us, we spend a lot of time really working on defining what our brand is, understanding how we can enhance the applicant experience through social platforms and through all of the different ways in which we touch our target talent. And of course, just like all of you, we have to show a good return on investment. So we have to make sure that we're lowering our recruiting costs, but fundamentally improving the quality of our candidates. And that's a hard one to measure. Has anybody figured out how to measure quality of hire? Yeah, me neither. So no nuggets there for you. But what I'm finding is that as we are going into this process and as we're able to further articulate our messaging and as we're engaging in more robust dialogues with our target talent through social media, we have more people who are opting out of applying for our jobs. And it's a good thing. That's a good thing. I want you to self-select out. If you think that this isn't going to be a fit for you, because you know more about my culture, because you know more about the job, because you've had that opportunity to have a conversation with our colleagues, that's good. But what we've also found is that we have a lot more people who, when they go through the process, when they understand Pfizer's culture, that they're really engaged from day one when they start with the organization. So we're really able to find different talent through these mediums, and we're really able to engage with that talent very, very differently, which has brought a different profile to our applications. And so for us, I just wanted to show one of our new tools as we built our recruitment brand. This is our new careers website. This is the way in which we start our engagement with our target talent. And this is what we've seen to be a huge improvement in the quality of our applications has come from the fact that we actually have an aligned message that's really making a conversation occur between Pfizer and the talent that we're trying to bring to the table. What we're trying to do in our approach to social media is make sure that that conversation exists. So it's not just enough to say, I'm going to use Facebook, I'm going to use Twitter, I'm going to use LinkedIn, and I'm going to post my jobs, and I'm going to be there to answer your questions. You can't just do that. And that's what we did. You know, quite frankly, we tweet our jobs. Oh, that's great. We're tweeting our jobs. Everybody is going to now apply. Now they know enough about it. We had this wonderful jobs, feed, Twitter feed, and everything. And it didn't work. It didn't work at all because we weren't there. We weren't having that conversation. We weren't engaging enough. We were just sending out and pushing out information. It was the age-old sort of post and pray approach just applied to social media. So what we did was we really spent a lot of time working with our colleagues, working with our talent to understand what it was that they're most interested in learning about. So we surveyed about 6,000 external talent globally to get their feedback and their input into what it was that they wanted to see. We did a social media listening analysis to see what target talent was saying about Pfizer in the market. So we did that, we analyzed, how we were being perceived on Glassdoor. We looked at, comments that were coming in on Twitter, on Facebook, and all of these different areas. And we tried to understand sort of how people perceived us and what they were saying and what they were interested in. And all of that has lent us to the ability to build a website that delivered back the information that was most relevant to them, but also linked them through to the places that they spent their time. So we also asked, as an applicant or as a passive job seeker, where do you spend your time? How do you learn about companies? How do you do your research? And we're focusing our efforts there. But is that enough? Guys, is it enough to have just your website that kind of focuses on it, teaching your colleagues how to talk to people, thinking about the fact that you need to have this kind of a strategy? Is that enough? Absolutely not. So social media, big buzzword, big buzzword. Kind of scary. Yeah, kind of scary a little bit. Intimidating for those of you who are just starting out. It is. It is, and it was for us. Now, can you imagine a company like Pfizer with 100,000 employees, very heavily regulated, both in the US and outside the US, embarking into social media? We're risk averse. We don't like to do these things. We don't like to open ourselves up to the conversation. So it was really hard for us to think about stepping away from just using our website and saying, now we have a social strategy because we link to Facebook. We had to do more than that. And we had to really engage our employees. And we really had to build much more capability. And we had to kind of break through that aversion to moving in this space. So what we did was we built a pronged approach to social media where we're really focusing in on how we make our jobs social and how we make our jobs mobile. How we manage our brand. Our brand isn't just enough to have a brand. We can't just say we're managing it through teaching our employees what to say. We have to own the conversation on these sites. We have to be in the conversation. We really have to control it. We also have to build talent networks. So it's not just enough to go out on these social sites and start talking to people and just saying, hey, here you go. I'm going to answer your question today. I'm going to answer your question today. But then I'm never going to talk to you again. You have to use the platforms that are available to really build that network and to build that relationship over time. But you also have to use your employees. It's not enough just to be recruiters, just to be someone in corporate communications, to say, I'm going to own this strategy and I'm going to manage it. I've got a team of me, myself, and I. Is it enough for me to represent the company globally in this way? Absolutely not. Because it's just me, it's just my own perspective. You have to engage your employees. Your employees are your best brand ambassadors, and your employees are those that are going to be able to support you in truly building an engaged and active talent network. And then there's that old Evo measure success. You gotta be able to measure success. And I have to measure success because I'm not going to continue to get investment, whether it's in time or resources or dollars, to be able to continue spending this amount of time in this kind of a strategy. So I have to figure out how to measure success. It's not enough to say I'm going to measure success. It's not enough to say I've got, X number of followers. I need to be able to translate that into a quality of hire type of a metric or cost per hire type of a metric. How am I reducing costs? How am I using these tools to reduce the organization's overall cost? And that's hard to do. So if any of you guys have tips, I would really like to hear them after the session today. But where do you guys start? So this was our progress. We had to figure out where to start. When we entered into this whole platform, there was 1,010,000 different places to go. Where do we start? That was like a major challenge. I had no idea where to start. Searching for pharmaceutical research scientists, somebody who is an expert in pharmacoepidemiology. Yes, I said it right. Are they going to be on Facebook, guys? I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe, probably. They're there socially, but are they there considering a new job move? Do they really want to hear from Pfizer on that medium, from a Pfizer recruiter? I don't know. We didn't know. We had no idea where to go. So we had to start somewhere. So what we did, and those of you who are just starting out in your process, these are some of my tips and sort of how it worked for us, is we did a lot of research, and we really kind of looked at where are people spending their times. We did the surveys, as I mentioned. We talked to our colleagues. We went out and said, where do you guys spend your time? How are you going about looking for jobs? How would you do this? And we narrowed down the playing field, and we took it slow. Took it very, very slow. Probably a lot slower than some of you guys, but that really worked for us. And I'm a big believer in piloting. So if you guys haven't piloted some approaches, I'd highly recommend that you do that, especially those of you who may be in a company at my size and scale. If you tried to go out and do a social strategy globally all at once, probably won't be as successful as you want it to be. So really think about, finding your early adopters, piloting your approach, and then building the credibility that you need in order to take this further. So that's what I mean when I say take small steps. So for us, we really narrowed down our fields, and we focused in some of the core areas on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, as well as working with our employees and building out our brand. So again, as I said, we really focused in 3 core areas on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. We really used Twitter and Facebook as an opportunity to kind of push information out, not engaging in as many conversations there because, again, of our highly regulated industry. But we bring people into Facebook, and into LinkedIn rather, into joining our talent communities. So anytime we're talking to somebody on Twitter, we're sharing information, we're entering into a dialogue, we ask them to follow Pfizer, or we ask them to join one of our recruitment groups that's on LinkedIn. Same thing on Twitter. And we also use Glassdoor as a way in which we monitor our brand. So we're really very heavily active as of 2012, so 2 weeks ago, using Glassdoor. This was an area we hadn't used in the past, but this is definitely an area that really helps us understand what's being said about us in the marketplace, and how can we then change and shift and grow with our strategy. So if you guys don't use Glassdoor, I'd really recommend that you take a look at it if your company is out there, because a lot of nuggets of information that you can then take and embed within your strategy. So that's how we're focusing. Now, that's not saying that none of the other sites are being used. I mean, we're focusing our resources here. We're focusing our time and our energy in these spaces, and some more so than others. So from a Facebook perspective, we do not use Facebook very heavily from a recruitment perspective in the United States. However, we do in Latin America. Facebook in Latin America is absolutely astronomically huge. It is an excellent way to engage with talent, especially the talent we're trying to attract in that area, being plant employees, manufacturing employees. It's also quite large in Turkey, and actually in Canada. So those are some of the core areas where we've invested heavily in Facebook. Twitter, very much using Twitter in a lot of our Asia Pacific countries, as well as some of our European countries. Not as much in the US, again, because of the target population that we're trying to attract. LinkedIn, however, is our primary vehicle for sourcing. We have 70 recruiter users across the globe using LinkedIn. We have, I think it's up to 14 corporate recruitment groups at this point in time, and we have targeted company pages. And so we've actually translated our brand and our messaging into local languages on LinkedIn, and we're really using this as a way to engage and to communicate with our talent. We're also using LinkedIn Talent Pipeline. I'm not sure if you guys have heard about the new product that they're rolling out this year to build our talent networks. So that's where we're really trying to build out and manage our relationships and using that candidate relationship management tool to engage with and follow and continuously converse with talent. So for us, the other challenge that we have is that we have a large number of contract recruiters that also support and work with us. And we want to make sure that we're able to continuously engage with the talent that our contract staff or our staff overseas has maybe engaged with and built a relationship with. So using a global tool like a LinkedIn, not saying, or a Facebook or Twitter is really important for us because we can manage our talent globally. So, if I'm having a conversation with someone who's very interested in Pfizer, who might be an expat, historically, we may have lost that person. If I didn't know somebody over in our European office, they may be interested in going back to China, or there may be somebody in China who, had a degree from the United States. We weren't able to keep in touch with these individuals. Many of you might face the same issue with us. We also lost all of our silver medal candidates. So if they came in and they interviewed for a job and they weren't a fit for today, and we wanted to follow up with them for another job that came down the road 5, 6, 7 months later, couldn't get them out of our ATS. Absolutely not. We had no idea who they were. They interviewed for a job, then, oh, well, okay, sorry, we'll look at you again. Yeah, no way. We just didn't have the technology within the ATS. And so that's why it's so important from a social perspective in using these mediums to also manage those are active individuals. They're engaged with us already, but we were losing them. So it was so important to make sure we had the opportunity to have something like LinkedIn to continue that dialogue. But it wasn't overnight. So this next slide kind of talks through our approach. I mean, we started this back in 2009. It's been an evolution. It really has been an evolution for us. And so for those of you who are just starting off, don't try to jump in with both feet right at the front time. Really think about your strategy. Make sure you understand what your goals are and plan out an approach. Look at this over time. So for us, you can see here back in 2009, we really had a very limited social presence. We had basic profile pages on LinkedIn and Facebook. We had about 3 LinkedIn users. We didn't use social much at all. We were posting, we were praying. We actually launched LinkedIn Recruiter with a very small sourcing team. And then we moved into that pilot approach. And we really started building out our capabilities. And this is when we started engaging with our corporate communications organization and our legal team. So for those of you who have people in corporate communications roles, or you have people in legal, talk to them. Build a partnership with them. Find out what they're doing. Leverage it. Shamelessly steal it. Get yourself at the table. What happened within Pfizer is that we started to see the corporate communications, the media relations group, having a presence in these sites. And we said, hey, don't forget about us. We're one of the other companies that the other parts of the company that's out there talking in the external market and talking in the external environment. And we found this was huge in terms of helping us build our strategy and leveraging what was there. And so for us, that really kind of put us on the map in making sure that we were engaged with them. It also saved us some money. So for those of you who have very limited budgets, this is a good thing to partner with corporate communications. And so that helped us in kind of building that credibility within the group. And as we continued to progress through into 2011, we really started to focus in on our brand and then using the social sites to reintroduce Pfizer to the marketplace, building out our careers website, making sure that that was socially connected so people could share it, so people could connect with us, so people could understand sort of more about our employees. We also launched regional teams and recruiting groups on LinkedIn. So I've built a connection within our global organization where I have a social media champion sitting in each region, someone from the US, Asia Pac, Latin America, and Europe. And I work with them to really build the capabilities of the team within the regions and to help educate and understand, what are the social tools that are being used there. So in China, Facebook, good idea? No. Blocked, can't use it. But what can we use in China from a social perspective? LinkedIn is pretty good. We have had one whole hire out of LinkedIn in China as of 2 weeks ago. It was awesome. We started using LinkedIn, though, in China in October. So to have one hire within 3 months, pretty cool. So that's a good thing. We're building the capability and the credibility there. But we also, these social media champions are bringing to the table, what's relevant in our market. You got the big ones, and then you got your local potential partnerships. And then into 2012, so this is where the exciting stuff comes in. We've got our basics done. Well, I've gotten the basics. I've started to see the success. And now we're getting into some of the fun stuff that we heard about yesterday. So for us, we're launching a mobile app. So it'll be a native mobile app for Pfizer. We're also launching a fully mobile-ready version of our website globally in 27 languages. We're also building a virtual career fair. So it's a Pfizer booth, open at any time. Candidates can come in. They can register to attend a virtual event. They can do live chat with our recruiters. We're starting to do live video chat. So if you are interested in learning more about Pfizer, you can come in and do that. So here in the US, we partner with a company called Millicruit to support our transitioning military hiring, and we've participated in their virtual career fairs, and they offer a solution that is a private company-owned booth. It's an annual subscription. Yep, and I can share more information about that, absolutely. So it's an annual subscription, and it is supported for companies who are global like mine in multiple different languages. So we will be launching this virtual career fair in 6 languages, including Chinese, Japanese, Spanish, Russian, and German in the end of the second quarter. So we'll be able to really engage one-on-one online in real time with target talent. And we get to capture all of their information, such as name and email address. So we'll always have that, and they can be added into our talent networks. And then we're really also building out recruiter blog capabilities. So, it's not enough just for me to be answering all of the questions that come in. We need to be able to put tips and techniques out there and have our recruiters talk to hiring people who are interested in positions about, how to think about applying to a job. What are the tools that you need to have to be successful within the organization? What's Pfizer's culture all about? What is it like to work here at the company? So really starting to do those blogs, and that will come out in the 3rd quarter of this year. So we've got a lot to look forward to. But again, you can see sort of how we've implemented over time. We've started small, we've taken those baby steps, and now we're moving into some more areas.
Do you have an editorial process there with those recruiting blogs? Are you going to see it all, or how do you manage the flow of information?
That's a great question. I'm still figuring that one out. But yes, the plan is that we will have an editorial process. So I'm building out a calendar. And these social media champions that I've mentioned will be the ones who are accountable for writing blogs. I'm expecting that they will do 4 a year. So we would have 8 blogs from our region, from our different regions, plus some global blogs from myself and the leadership team. So we're looking at having every other week a new blog post go up and have it kind of shift by region to talk about what's happening. It's going to be a little bit of both. So to start off, because this is so new for us, and we need to kind of pilot, again, we're going to make sure it's something that we all are comfortable talking about, and then we're going to start engaging with our colleague group to talk about the business. So we also have colleague resource groups within the organization, employee affinity groups, and our plan, and this is not going to happen until probably 2013, would be to really engage with those resource groups to help add in business commentary into the blogs. But we're starting small with just recruiting at this point. Mm-hmm. That's a great question. So for those who may not have heard it, it's about cultural nuances and what were some of the cultural nuances that we found. And it's really important. So one of the things that we've also done for our recruiting organization is what's called the Cultural Navigator training. So helping our organization to understand how to communicate in different countries and in different locations. And it's important for Pfizer to be able to be sort of a virtual team that can recruit with no boundaries. So we have people sitting in Latin America who are doing sourcing for North America, who support sourcing over in Europe and vice versa. So we're really building that capability. But it is important to understand, and it's more of a formal conversation when you're speaking in say, a country like Japan than it is when you're talking to someone in Latin America, where it's very social and it's very family oriented, and you're engaging in a conversation that always starts out with what did you do for over the weekend, and talk more about your sort of social environment. So it is very different, and you have to be able to understand that when you're engaging within these conversations. What we do find is because we are regionally organized, we have recruiters sitting in all regions, that we look to those champions and we look to those individuals to help us understand how do we approach that. But what's been great in terms of our branding campaign is that it is a global campaign where we have this global website, but we also allow for those local nuances and to make sure that we're able to communicate locally and what's important in those regions. Okay. Other questions before I move on? Yep.
Have you, by chance, linked up your employee referral program to the social media site?
No. No, I have not yet. And that is simply because our applicant tracking system is not, shall we say, fully able to support that at this point in time. But that is a goal for 2012. So we are completely revamping our employee referral program in 2012, really looking at it. The other thing is that it's not a global program. So our ERP program has traditionally been in the US, in Germany, in India, and some other countries. We have very different approaches. So we're really looking at that this year. And the goal is to align so we have a global policy and process and determine how do we implement and leverage some of these tools. So we're looking at Referral Engine, which is LinkedIn's product. The Work At app on Facebook, which is, I believe, Career Builder's product. So those are some of the different areas that we're focusing in on how we can engage our employees to refer individuals to the organization through these channels. So more to come on that. But if you have any tips for those of you who have done it using a system that's not necessarily as fully integrated, I'd love to hear more. Any other questions before I move on? Yeah.
Can you talk more about your mobile application and the strategy behind that?
Sure, I'm going to actually get into that in a couple seconds. So what I wanted to just show is some examples of how we're using the different venues and the different media, and we'll get into the app in just a minute. So on Twitter, we have recruiters who do have Twitter accounts. We're really using Twitter in pockets. It's not global like some of the other talks yesterday had recruiters who all have Twitter accounts, which I think is awesome. We're not there yet, but we're going to get there over time. But so we really tweet our open positions. We retweet Pfizer News. So we do have a Pfizer News channel on Twitter. And we follow Pfizer. And so this is definitely an area that we're looking at. What we try to do is we post a job on LinkedIn. We share it out through Twitter. So it's kind of all connected together. We're not posting in multiple different locations. We also use branch out, so on Facebook. So branch out is an area that we can, really reach out to the population of Facebook in a professional environment. So recruiters are able to look at people's professional profiles. We're piloting this in Latin America this year in the first quarter. And in Turkey, you can see we use Facebook extensively. This is a big market for us.
Have you seen any results yet on branch out?
No. We're piloting it this month. So we're just literally, I'm kicking off, I think it's on Tuesday. So connect with me and I'd be happy to share the results after the first quarter. But we do a lot of work in Turkey on Facebook in terms of advertising and engaging with talent. So that's an area that's worked really, really well for us. LinkedIn, again, huge amount of work that we do on LinkedIn. As I said, we had over 70 users. We have 60,000 employees who have profiles on LinkedIn. So that's a huge number of people we can capture and we can engage with. We have almost 160,000 followers to our company. So again, another huge number of people we can engage and we can touch. Okay, Glassdoor, this is new for us this year. We have a profile. We also flow our jobs out there, but we're also able to engage with and understand the comments that are coming in. Your interview process was awesome. All right, well, I want to find out a little bit more about that. What was so awesome about it? So we can start to build that into our strategy. Yeah. That's what we've been looking at doing, is trying to follow up with that. We're getting the report. We can kind of reach back out, post a comment back. So we won't know who the person is, but we can post a comment back. Okay. So here, and then hopefully they'll engage with us and tell us more. But here's our careers website. This is the Connect page on our website where we have our Twitter feed. We also have a LinkedIn widget that shows how you're connected to Pfizer. So if you visit, anybody who visits our site, you'll see who you know in common with Pfizer. And we also have company blogs that we also have information there. We have Think Science Now, which is a science blog about our research and development. We have Global Health Fellows, which is where we send individuals internationally to support non-governmental organizations. And then here's our mobile app. So this is what we're so excited about this. It's coming out at the end of the first quarter. Really what this is, an opportunity for folks to be able to learn more about the company. It's kind of refers back to our careers website. This is really important for us in Asia Pacific communities, in Asia Pacific markets. So we're going live in both English and simplified Chinese. And you can search and apply for current jobs. You can have, there's a quick browse by map option, so you can kind of look at, in China, you can look at, see if the job is in Beijing, Shanghai, or Guangzhou. You can learn about our different businesses, our different locations. You can read our colleague profiles. So you can see there's Andreas from Germany there, so you'll be able to see sort of what he does within the organization. You can search for the jobs by function or by country. You can then apply for the positions, read more about the positions. And there's also feeds that will come in from Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. All of our different social areas will come right into here. It's one of our tools. Now we realize that not everybody's going to want to download a Pfizer app. I mean, that's probably active people who are really interested in following us. So the other aspect of this strategy is we're making sure that our website is fully mobile ready. So if you come to our website, you'll be able to experience it. It is mobile viewable right now, but it's not a full mobile site. So that is also going live at the same time that this app is.